Snapper, one of New Zealand's most popular fish. Catching a big one is very much a rite of passage in this country. If you've caught a big snapper, you've made it as a fisherman. Catching a fish in excess of 30 years old is some challenge. Adult snapper are not easy to tempt to a hook. They've survived for decades to reach that trophy size, and there's not actually that many of them around either. Just finding a fish of this size is the challenge. In some cases, it requires you to be in the right place at the right time. This is my journey to the 20-pound snapper. Snapper had always been a problem species for me as a fisherman. Even when I was younger going out on granddad's boats, I would never be able to catch them. It was just always a struggle and I'd never caught a good one, and I was desperate to know what I was doing wrong. Sometime back in around 2013, I managed to get hold of a 3-meter kayak and began kayak fishing. After not going out very far and learning the ropes a bit, I began to branch out a bit more at my local port of Napier, going out a bit further, starting to catch kahawai, gurnard, that sort of thing, but never really finding snapper. And the main reason for that was, well, they really aren't in that area of Hawke's Bay. They're really a bit further out. After looking at a New Zealand kayak forum, I made a few mates in Hawke's Bay and learned that they were fishing an area known as Te Wonga on their kayaks. And this was much further away from where I was used to. Not as easy of a launch, you actually had surf to deal with. So it would be a much bigger effort in order to go out in this area, but this is where all the snapper seem to be being caught. The new terrain was mostly mudflats and about 5 to 7 meters of water, and there were also a number of rocks with mussels and that sort of shellfish, and this is perfect for snapper. At first I really didn't know what time of year was best for snapper, and I learnt this by watching what others were doing on this forum. I would be able to see when they were starting to catch the snapper, and usually it would begin around October and then peter out into summer, then it would pick up again as you got into autumn. That late summer to autumn period definitely seemed to be the best time. My first attempt at this sort of fishing, I really wasn't using the gear I am today. It was very much more budget stuff, so I was very much just using what I could get my hands on. So these first few trips really only produced barracuda, trevally, kahawai, quite small models as well. But, however, other anglers continued to catch snapper around me, sometimes up to quite good size. This really got to me as a young angler because I could not work out why I wasn't catching, but these others were. Obviously there's a bit of luck in it, but looking back, there were definitely quite a few things I was doing wrong, but it would come in time. The rest of 2015 went much the same. I didn't even catch one, and I watched a lot of others catch them. So it would have to wait till the following autumn before I had my chance. On the 20th of May 2016, I had that first run on my bait.
I don't have to worry anymore. Yeah, I got him.
After all the anguish of watching others catch the same species I've wanted to, I'd finally done it. Even though this fish was around 40 centimeters and quite a small one in the grand scheme of things, I couldn't care less. I'd done it. "2016's winter quickly took hold and I didn't catch any more that entire season. I'd have to wait until the next summer. With new gear getting better and better each year, I returned to Te Wonga's mudflats and continued the hunt in 2017. Throughout this period, I really didn't improve that much on size, but where I did really improve was numbers of fish. Now that I had this 40cm snapper underneath my belt, I began to catch lots and lots of legal sized fish, around 35 to 40 centimeters. Another year passed with no standout fish, but loads and loads. I'd have to wait till October 2018 until I'd get that chance. It was now spring at Tiawonga, and I was fishing with some of my mates, and once again they were catching fish, and I wasn't. Again, I wondered, why was I cursed and why could I not catch snapper? It didn't make any sense to me, so I was like, screw this, I'm gonna go somewhere else, and I'm gonna go to Mahia. After an epic gurnard session, my curse began to lift. With a flash of pink and silver underneath the kayak, that net was coming out very, very fast. I knew what this was. In an even more exciting turn of events, another snapper, the same size, joined me moments later. I had done it. I proudly paddled back to shore with two snapper of 3.1 kilos. The 2018 and 2019 summer dawned. I had new confidence with this species, and I knew it wouldn't be long before I'd find my next fish. I returned to Tiawonga on the 20th January 2019. 2019 seemed to be the answer to all of my prayers. This year was going to be unprecedented. At this point in time, I've really improved my fishing skills. I've begun using my anchor a lot more, chunking fish like pilchards into the trail to attract larger fish. My gear was better, my rods, my tackle, my favourite bait, bullet tuna, was doing wonders for me as a fisherman. I was fishing longer and earlier in the mornings as well. As summer fell into autumn, I knew autumn was the time to find my big one. I returned back to Tiawonga again throughout the period of April and May and found countless fish from 3 to 4 kilograms. I just added fish over and over and over, but none were really standouts. All of these fish obviously fought way harder than anything else that I'd caught up to that previously. A lot of the snapper actually fight harder in that 4 to sort of 5 kilo bracket, so I had some epic battles in the shallow water with these fish. Just 1 week later, on the 29th of April 2019, became one of my best sessions of all time. I held up the fish and was completely unable to wipe the grin off my face. My mate was off in the distance and I had to get some payback for all those fish he'd caught in front of me. 6.7 kilos, well above that last fish of 4.8. Again, there's still room for improvement. 2019 was coming to a close. It had been easily my best fishing year, and I didn't want it to end. But as May rolled around, the snapper began to migrate north. My final chance for the autumn season came on the 30th of May 2019. This enormous snapper surfaced and I just looked at it and I was in disbelief. Normally I'd be shouting and screaming like I have on other big fish that I've caught. It was very much a sense of calm. This fish was obviously exhausted and the net shot was fairly easy for a fish of this size. The only problem I really did have was wondering if it was actually going to fit in the net. I had my prize after hundreds of hours put into kayak fishing, early mornings, doing the hard yards, fishless days. Unfortunately, this fish was unable to be revived as it had spent itself during this fight. The water pressure had also taken its toll as I'd caught it out of over 20 metres of water. It was a bittersweet ending because when I first thought that I wanted to catch this 20-pound snapper, I wanted to release it. I headed in quickly to the beach and organised a courtesy weigh at the local sport fishing club. Here the scales pulled down to an unbelievable 10.2 kilograms. I was in shock. I didn't think this fish was going to go 20 pounds, but it went 22.5. My snapper was then filleted and nothing was wasted. Back in 2016, I could have never dreamed of a fish like this. I was still catching baby fish in the grand scheme of things. It was just so far away at that point in my life. 2019 cemented itself as the best year I've ever had fishing. With the enormous fish ticked off my list, kingfish very much became the centre of my attention. Even still, on the 5th of October 2020, another fish came sniffing.
Big fish. This is what these big snapper do, they piss out line. First run it's probably 30 or 40 metres, maybe more, 50. They have so much power on that first run. It's just screaming, screaming, screaming. Who knows how big it's going to go back to the bottom. This is kind of what I was out here for, looking for something like this. We're lucky it didn't go towards the anchor. It's going again. We had it halfway up actually. This is dangerous. We're going past the anchor now. Oh, it's a big one. It's a big one. It's a big snapper. It's a big snapper. I just saw the side of him. I don't know how big he's gonna be, but I think he's gonna be a beast. Oh no. Oh, is it another? Oh my god. Oh my goodness me. Get in there this time. Yes! Oh. Big snapper. We're gonna let him go.
One thing I never think about on the kayak is how the heck do I handle a huge fish? There's not much space to work with. This was only the second big snapper I'd had on the kayak, and in order to keep it in good enough nick, I had to keep dunking its head in the water to get enough oxygen over its gills, as I tried to get a good photo and also lift it up for the camera. Try as I might, even with all of this care and effort taken, the snapper couldn't swim down. The pressure change out of 18 metres was too much for this fish's swim bladder. I made the call that this is probably another fish that's best kept. This fish was another massive one, and it weighs just under 9 kilos. Over the past 6 years, I've evolved my fishing from overhand knots and secondhand line to ledger rigs and tough trace from Black Magic. There are hundreds of things that I've learned in order to complete this goal. I couldn't be more proud of myself as a fisherman and also a person. I think it's about time I caught a monster kingfish. Thanks for watching.